tonight we're gonna try to address UST and Luna issues and impact it has on crypto. But before we tell you this amazing story, please subscribe and give us thumbs up, and also accept the alarms so that every time we send something will come to you. Acknowledge that bell, click the bell, and then you get all our videos. So what is going on with UST? What is UST? How it's made? So UST stands United States token, created by a Singaporean company, or at least the owner is in Singapore. So the Terra Group Foundation is called, and the headmaster is Do Kwon. It's a Chinese name. I don't know if he's Chinese or Singapore, but some people are saying China has something to do with this problem, and it's a conspiracy. But we don't want to talk about conspiracy. We just want to talk about facts in front of us. So they have this thing called Anchor Protocol, which is what it does is whenever the UST fluctuates, they took out of circulation some of the UST and put Luna to stabilize, and that's what they call Anchor Protocol, which is a bank that they created, which does the lending and the borrowing for them. And those people who are lending their Luna or as a staking, they get 20%, and you can borrow or whatever, they do all that, so people make good money, good return, 20%. But is it sustainable? Well, that's the question. It may not be sustainable because it's catching up to them, and then they knew this probably. So what they did, which they did not divulge, because this is it's an unknown territory, because there's no Fed or nothing. It's not centralized. It's a decentralized system, and this thing was a darling for the decentralized world. So they wanted to become like, this thing was intended, UST was supposed to be a competitor of the US Tether or USDC, which have enough cash as a deposit. That's why they are more stable than this. But this thing was a algorithmic or mathematically calculated system that was balancing with their Anchor Protocol and all that. This reminds us the story, that big story that we read in on papers and books and schools, that talk about the 2000 real estate problem, which was a big problem. People were running to the bank, give me my money, and the banks were losing trust. So people were panicking around the world, even in the United States, the biggest economy in the world. And what the United States do probably was a good thing. So they stabilized. They had the Feds. So this crypto world, that it doesn't have a centralized system, it's decentralized, it's supposed to be trustless, it's supposed to be honest, but there may be some cheating going on. That's why I think a centralized crypto would be better than a decentralized, crazy crypto. I used to like the decentralized idea, trustless, but I think you need a trust, whether it's a agreed upon international system, has to be some kind of a accredited institution that makes sure that this idea works. So these guys, Do Kwon and his team or gang, they knew this. That's why they bought a lot of Bitcoin the last few months. So they wanted to use as a collateral, and now the question is, can Bitcoin become like the houses, like housing problems? So the collateral issue of Bitcoin, can it be a collateral? And what happens if everybody uses Bitcoin as collateral, or it's not a good idea? Well, times will prove that it's not a good idea. It's already proven, and no algorithmic coin works so far. So this may be doomed. I made a video in Somali language earlier, and that language, when I was making this thing, was 68 cents. It lost in the span of an hour or so, or maybe 2 hours, half of it was 68 cents when I made the other video. Now it's 35 or 36, whatever, it doesn't matter. It lost it half, couldn't go and disappear. And why do they buy the bitcoins and hide it from us? And how many bitcoins do they have now? Maybe they spend all their bitcoin. As many people are saying they spend all their bitcoin, so it's doomed. It's gonna fail. And what's the impact? Well, the impact is already good for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is still holding 28,000. Amazing, amazing. Because the amount of money, like 18 billion, maybe the market cap of this UST coin, it's supposed is off the market now. I mean, it's fluctuating, and Bitcoin is not fluctuating much. What an amazing coin Bitcoin is. But the empire is in big trouble. The empire of Bitcoin is in big trouble. And so these people, when they borrowed that much money, when they bought those coins, they said, oh, we're putting this as a collateral, 37,000 Bitcoin. What if they don't have it? They don't. Then we are in big trouble. So I think if we look at another coin, let's look DXY, the US dollar index, which is the baseline 100, is right now the US dollar index. If we look at it for the hourly, we can see it's beautifully. We were looking this thing for the last few days. We think that the US dollar index has a big problem. There's a big bridge that it needs to cross before it conquers Bitcoin. So we gave this name the Rubicon River. It's like when Julius Caesar was crossing the Rubicon River. So if it crosses, Bitcoin will fall down and the empire is in big trouble. But for us, we don't see that the momentum that the DXY has. So the die is not casted. So if the die is cast, then that's when we say, yeah, the die is cast and it's already 104, blah, blah. If it hits 104.5 or even 104.3 or even 2, Bitcoin is heading downwards below 27, 26, 25, 24. But I differ, and I don't think the empire will collapse and the Bitcoin empire will succeed, even though DXY is the nemesis of Bitcoin and it likes to do that. It doesn't have itself because of the gravity of the international economics in financial world and the war in Ukraine and all these things. There's no stability. But the dollar is already 4% basis. It's supposed to be 100 when on the balance of the dollar is balanced, but it's against other currencies is already 4%, which is big. I don't think it has enough momentum to cross this 104.3. And I'm going to give you a little bit of funny story. You know, the Rubicon River, when this gentleman, Julius Caesar, crossed and he said, the die is cast, I'm heading. Because the Roman Empire, if I tell you a little bit of story, the Roman Empire, they had a rule that if the generals go away and they win wars, when they come back, they cannot bring their army. So Julius Caesar, he was afraid of his safety, and he said, no, my army will come with me. And Pompeo, the king, the senator at that time, the senator of the Roman Empire, said, no, you can't. And then he said, no, the die is cast, and he crossed the bridge. So we don't think the bridge has been crossed, and we think DXDY does not have enough power to kill Bitcoin. We think it will hang around here, and they need a lot of power to cross. So we're predicting it's going to come down to 102, and Bitcoin may survive. That is our story. And if you like how we put this as a story, and we appreciate your support, could you please hit the subscribe and hit the ring, the alarm, so that it will ring every time, and give us a thumbs up. Thank you very much. We appreciate your support. Please support us.